We are here today with, very excited to be here today with Marisa Sweeney, the first Democrat to flip the Republican New Jersey 25th legislative district. And she did it, as we'll get into in a little while, under incredible odds. And she still managed to win and to win convincingly in the district. Marisa, hello.
Hi.
So the first thing I want to talk to you about, because for years, for a period of 10 years, I was a concert promoter and really found it interesting that you were able to actually plan and put together the New Jersey Veg Fest in Montclair. Is that correct? While you were campaigning?
Yeah, definitely.
Tell me about it. How do you go about the day-to-day of campaigning, which is almost a full-time job, running a business that you've been in for 15 years, and actually throwing a festival?
So the New Jersey Veg Fest has been around. We're going into our 10th year.
Right.
So I have a team in place of people that have been with me for a really long time. They knew I was doing this campaign. I actually was trying to, because it's also the first time that we were doing this event in Montclair. We usually do it in the Meadowlands. So we're moving to a new venue. The offer was made to me to go there. And this was 2 months before the event. Yeah. And I was thinking the better idea was to push it off till next year. And it was my own staff that was like, no, we can do it this year. I was like, okay, I'm doing this campaign. They're like, we know.
So you not only threw it, you actually changed venues during it, started up a cold venue and everything.
Yeah. I have a really, really great team. They talked me into it, and also they delivered. We put on a really successful event.
Again, kudos to you. That's a hard thing to pull off. Yeah. And one of the things that we'll get into is the way that you commingled your business and the campaign, not in a bad sense, but in a social media, the way you prepared and executed on your social media. But let's not start there. Let's go back to the primary. I want to go back to where you and I met. And it was right after Steve Fulop. We had just done an article on Steve, where we had actually predicted that Mikey Sherrill would win the primary, but we put the offer out there for anyone who wants to step up and prove us wrong. And sure enough, Steve did that. And I thought we had a fantastic article with Micah Rasmussen and Steve, and the three of us wrote. And I think you had actually read that article when it came out. So I met with you afterwards, and one of the things that when I came up with this experiment this year of starting Zoose, was to open source it to Republicans, Democrats, whoever wanted to use it. And I was really surprised at the number of Democrats that have been engaged on my platform, reading the platform, and you certainly caught my eye early on. And tell me, where were you politically? So your candidate that you had just backed for the primary, who you were out campaigning with and supporting, lost the primary. Now you're kind of thrown into the wolves. What happened?
Well, going into this with Steve Fulop, I really liked him because he was very policy forward. Yeah. But unfortunately, it was pretty disappointing when he lost. But that being said, I was never against Mikey Sherrill. Like, I always liked Mikey Sherrill as a candidate. Yeah. And we were told we were very integrated with MCDC, which is Morris County Democratic Committee, talking before the committee, saying that, after the primary, no matter what happens, no matter who moves forward as the governor candidate, that they would still support us. They didn't put up candidates against us, so we didn't run against anybody in the primary. So there was that level of disappointment when Fulop lost, but also we were pretty embraced by Mikey Sherrill's camp. So it worked out really well. We all came together after the primary. We all have a common goal. We all have a lot of common values, and it just worked.
What month did you jump into the primary?
I declared I was running late February.
Right. So you had a few months to gear up there.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's been baptism by fire for you.
This really is
your first time in politics, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, first time running for office like this. I've been on the planning board in Morristown for a few years. Right. That's appointed, nothing like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
What made you want to do it?
I've been thinking about getting into politics for a few years now. And it's like something that I've been thinking about. As you mentioned, I have 2 other businesses. So I was like, I was almost like waiting for the time for it to feel right. And this opportunity with Fulop presented itself, and my running mate Steve Polipchuk is a friend of mine. He actually lives a few blocks away, and he was like, "Let's do this. We'll figure this out together." And I just saw this opportunity as something that I might not see again. To have the support behind me that I did have.
Now you were going against two. If they weren't well funded at the time, which they were, they would certainly be well funded. You knew this was a Republican district going into it. Did you consider yourself an underdog, or did you see a real opportunity?
On paper, I was the underdog. Absolutely. There hasn't been a Democrat assembly person in this district since I believe the year is 1978. So it's something to the tune of 50 years.
Right.
So I knew it was going to be a long shot by that measure. But I've been really integrated in the Morristown community and beyond that too within the district, just with the business that I own. I do tons of community work. I've been on the board of just about every local nonprofit that there is. So my name has been out there to an extent,
Right.
just because people know me from the community work that I do and from owning a small business in town. And so I thought in that regard, even though, as you mentioned, I was entering the primary kind of late, that maybe I would have a leg up in a district, in a race that would be really hard.
Right. And that you did. And one of the things that we discussed, we just looked at the ELEC reports, is you were outspent 12.5 to 1. And to put that in terms, you spent roughly $48,000 on your campaign, which is a fair amount of money. It's a legislative race, but in terms of New Jersey legislative races, that's not a lot of money. And your opponents spent roughly $600,000, a little over $600,000 against you. And I think the results that evening were amazing. What do you credit that with?
It was, like I said, I started in February, but it was a solid 8 months of crushing doors, of hitting every district that we possibly could. It was very much a boots on the ground, getting our hands dirty kind of campaign.
Right.
So we did do a lot of digital stuff because we were really trying to reach voters from every angle and every platform that we could. But it was a lot of doing it the old-fashioned way, honestly, like showing up to and it's stuff, honestly, that I'm already doing in a lot of ways. It's showing up to every community event that we possibly could. It's showing up to every Democratic committee meeting that we possibly could, getting people to believe in what we're doing and back us and help us. And it's been very much a like I said, like a boots on the ground, do it the old-fashioned way.
So was the strategy to firm your base up, to get your base on board? I mean, you came off of a primary that was, you had a fractured party at that point, which ultimately came together, but it took time to build the base back in there. Was that the first thing you set out to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And we were part of Mikey Sherrill's coordinated campaign. So after the primary, she did really help us out with volunteers and knocking on as many doors as we possibly could and phone banking, and she was very helpful with that.
Did Team Mikey ever reach out to her? So her social media arm, did they ever participate in anything you did online, or was your online separate?
My online was separate.
Yeah,
my online was separate. Where they really helped out was they would print literature that, in Morris County or within my district, it would say Mikey Sherrill on it. Underneath would be my name and Steve Polipchuk's name. Right. And they knocked on 10,000 doors for us.
So the first point, the furthest point north in the district for you is West Milford. That way.
Yes.
So you were up at West Milford. You were in areas that you had no business being in as a Democrat, and you went door to door and campaigned there.
Well, I think that's exactly, if I do say so myself, where I have business being. These are the people that I think there's nothing better than face-to-face connecting with people and communicating with people. So what did you get from
the people you were connecting with? What were you hearing out there?
That
to me is always the most interesting. The feedback that you get on the ground is always the most interesting to me.
In West Milford specifically, I was surprised to hear that people would say to us, I've never had a candidate knock on my door before. I've never felt represented before.
Right.
They kind of felt forgotten about.
Right.
So, and I think that just solidifies the whole thought that, getting the face-to-face time with people, showing up right to their front doors, like right to their home, hearing what they have to say, it means a lot to people.
Did you find there were more national themes to what you were hearing from people, or was it day-to-day affordability issues, fixing government issues? What were you hearing back from issues, not just in West Milford, from all over the district?
A mix of both, definitely. Yeah, a mix of both. Sometimes people don't really have an ear willing to listen to their gripes. So when you knock on their door, that's what you become. And so it's sometimes state issues and it's sometimes local issues. And I noticed that each town really was unique with their concerns. Like the oldest sinkholes, for example, that was a big concern when we were in Wharton. It was almost all of what everybody was talking about. But in Madison, they're not too concerned about that because it doesn't affect them nearly as much.
Right.
And they have concerns about open space trust funds and things like that. So we really tried to, when me and Steve were campaigning, we really tried to view when we entered into each town as though we were coming at it from a perspective of being their mayor. Like, what can we do to serve the very specific concerns of this community in particular, because it was so different from town to town.
Right.
So yeah, it was a mix of both.
And I noticed that even on your spots that you were doing, that your conversations, that you were reacting to national events like government shutdown. You'd respond to government shutdown and how that's affecting people.
Yeah.
You'd also Medicaid cuts. These are all issues that you took
Yeah.
up on the campaign trail.
Yeah.
So national, I think, in a way, did affect you. And I think going forth, one of the reasons that you and I just touched on it briefly, you said you wanted, like, what was my perspective of the campaign? And I think that you fit. One of the things that we came out with, and I think our best piece of research, was the 21 to 44-year-old woman who would sway the election ultimately, either way. And we saw that bear out in the final polls, in the Zogby polls for Mikey Sherrill, who has a great break at the end for these independent, really, we call them low information. That doesn't mean they're not smart. It simply means that they're too busy to engage on a day. They've got 3 kids. They've got work to go to. They've got so much going on in their lives. They just don't have time to focus on politics.
Yeah.
And what I saw specifically, and one of the things that I thought you did very well, was connect with that group of people. You connected with that demographic. You rode that all the way through the general election. And I think you did really well. Even the influencers for Sherrill that I was in contact with all the time noted you and noticed your campaign and saw what you were doing. So I thought that was something. Were you intentionally targeting? Were you going after everybody? Who did you think you were reaching on TikTok?
Well, on TikTok, it is a little bit of everybody, right? Like
Yeah.
I even find it to be hard to hit a hyper-local crowd on TikTok because it's everybody, right? But I think a big goal of mine with a lot of the social media that I was making was to talk both about local and national issues, because in a lot of ways they do kind of blend together. And one is most certainly going to affect the other in some ways. But if you talk about it in a way that makes it palatable and understandable, because sometimes these bigger issues are a lot more complex than what comes at face value.
Right.
So I kind of talked about things in a way of like, here's what the issues are in plain English, and you want to do it in under a minute, because that's, the TikTok algorithm. Like, people don't have much of an attention span. They want that piece of information that they can take away, and maybe it becomes a conversation piece later when they're with their family and they have some talking points, whatever, but also offering some sort of action step at the end of it. Right. Because otherwise it just is nonsense that goes into the ether. It's just complaining that goes into the ether, right, rather than this is what I stand for. Here's how I plan on changing it. And I think that allows people to then get an idea of what my intentions are and who I am as a candidate. And there's a study that I quoted a lot when I was campaigning, that in 2019, there was a research paper that showed that 2/3 of Americans only know two politicians in their life, and it's their mayor and the president of the United States, which means people are not looking at the state level, not nearly as often enough to solve some problems. That's, they're looking probably on the news, they're turning on whatever news channel that they're watching, and it's a lot of what's happening on the federal level, and it probably seems so unfixable and so high and so unattainable to maybe change things. But I really want to know what an assembly state level person can do for people, you know? So like one of my goals also is to actually have people gain some kind of faith in state level politics to even know. I can't tell you how many people ask me, what does assembly person even do? So I want people to know the answer to that question and to have an idea of what I'm going to bring to the table for them.
Yeah. And I think one of the things, if you go to the Cheryl campaign, one of the things they did brilliantly was to tag Chitterelli as MAGA Jack and also, a high tax Jack. And just those two labels alone, there was not a comment out of Mikey Sherrill's mouth that didn't have MAGA Jack. And I wrote about this extensively. I'm like, if you're the Chitterelli campaign, you need to take this on. You cannot let these attacks go unanswered. Do I think any single thing took down the Chitterelli campaign? No. I think when you have an overwhelming turnout of Democrats, like you had a historical level of turnouts, I mean, we called it way off. I was at 2.7 million turnout, and you got a 3.2 million. It's even inched up a little bit since. It is just, it flips the tables on everything. It really does. And I think, one of the things you and I talked about earlier is, were you brought in by the Cheryl wave that came in? My take on that is not really. I think what you did and my observations of your campaign was that you connected through your network that you discussed earlier. You had this existing network out there. And your businesses, by the way, have nothing to do with politics.
No, not really.
No, they're health-oriented.
It's health-oriented at an event. So a food festival.
But you connected with these people. What's the average age of your typical client?
At Be Well, it's 20 to 45 women.
Women.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? So that is really, not even knowing that, but that is what I was picking up from the data, that there is this group out there that really would be supportive. That was the other thing. When I was looking at the Cheryl Chitterelli numbers months ago, I think we uncovered this dynamic in early July or June about the 21 to 44-year-old woman. I started thinking, I'm like, he's done. He's done because they are going to break for a woman who understand whether they're the same on the issues or not. That was irrelevant. And, it wasn't like Jack was pro-life and Mikey's pro-choice. It wasn't that at all. But they connected with a woman. And all of the focus groups I did had them 9 out of 10 connecting with women. And that's when I first kind of got the idea that this is going to be. But nonetheless, I still thought it was going to be a close race, and it wasn't on our end. It was a runaway. But again, let's go back to the beginning of your campaign. You got into this. You really didn't have a lot of money. How do you maximize the money that you did raise? How do you maximize that in a very short window? You're being outspent 12.5 to 1.
Yeah.
What do you do? Do you do mail? Where are you spending those dollars?
A lot of it was spent, just given the size of the district. There's something to the tune of 200,000 people that live in this district. So of course we want to knock all the doors, and of course we want to put in, like the blood, sweat, and tears kind of part of it where it's our own time. But digital ads, it's a great way to reach people when given limited resources.
Were you able to afford texting and, remember to vote? I mean, you went out on social media and gave all the deadlines, today's the last day of vote by mail, today's,
Yes.
you did all of that, but I didn't see a lot of texts coming from you.
No. There was some stuff with the coordinated campaign that Mikey Sherrill's campaign put out.
Yes.
But it would always have her name, and then it would be almost like a down ballot kind of situation. The text message which would go out with our names on it.
I felt very fortunate because this is the first time since I was writing sort of nonpartisan that not sort of nonpartisan. I was as nonpartisan as I could possibly be. And I was getting texts from both campaigns, which was great. I was getting it from both sides. But again, I saw stuff even on the local level, on the mayoral level, from the Republicans and Democrats. But I really didn't see much from you that way.
Yeah.
And that was my only concern with your campaign, honestly, that we weren't seeing a lot of print.
Yeah.
And,
there was honestly hardly any print.
Yeah.
We did get those little door hanger things.
Yep.
And 10,000 of those went out.
Lawn
which is
signs.
nice.
You got lawn signs.
Oh, we did get lawn signs. Yeah, we got lawn signs. But that's it. Yeah, that's it.
So again, you would feel that you won your support by grassroots working of the campaign.
That's everything it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. What other observations while you were out there?
Other observations of like what worked, what didn't.
Yeah.
I noticed that and actually a lot of doing the digital stuff came as advice from you early on, but I noticed that the more I was putting videos out there, the more traction that they were getting, the more that they were being watched. Like the followers were climbing, the views were climbing, even
Right.
people that weren't followers. So that just indicated to me that, hey, I might be doing something here that's working.
Right.
So a lot of it was honestly figuring it out as you go. And I would imagine that's probably how every campaign is, There's kind of baseline framework and strategies that can likely apply to most campaigns.
Right.
And then it's learning what the issues are when you're talking to people and when you're going to different meetings and talking with constituents, and then maybe redirecting messaging a little bit. So it's a lot of having to pivot, even when maybe you feel like you have your plan and you don't want to deviate from your plan. I would imagine this is how all campaigns. I can't imagine the campaigns that I do in the future are going to be exactly this too.
Marisa, you are in my top 5% of communicators, politicians who can communicate online. But I noticed you didn't just learn that going in. You knew that because you were doing it already with your business. You grew your business this way.
Yeah.
And you took that experience. This wasn't like one of the things I tell a lot of the candidates that I talk with. I'm like, go to an acting class. Go to an acting class, not to be fake, but to be able to connect with authenticity. I mean, if you can take one thing going into the 2026 midterms, it's you need to be an authentic candidate.
Yeah.
Who can connect and be competent. And you checked all those boxes plus. And I think that was what I observed right from the beginning. And once I saw your ability to connect to people, and most other campaigns, even quite honestly, Cheryl was lucky because she had a team of over 100 influencers out there that made her digital campaigns seem organic. Mm-hmm. They weren't. They were structured. They were coordinated. They had a team that expanded. They were excellent at reaching out to influencers. I wrote about that early on. I said, Republicans, if you're going to get anything right, start doing this. They didn't. And they posted, what I feel is that we're in a very non-traditional advertising stage right now. I think we are in the age of storytelling. And that age has been before. If Franklin Delano Roosevelt did it, Bill Clinton told stories. Other politicians have been good storytellers. But right now, there are more platforms in social media than ever. And I think TikTok, not so much Facebook. Facebook you used well, but it's connecting with a different audience. You're getting an older audience, the older audience in TikTok, or I'm sorry, in Facebook, than you were getting, which is much younger skewed in TikTok. And I think once you can bring that, Roosevelt brought it in his fireside chat. It drew people in on this new medium, television or radio, excuse me. They were able to see pictures of him by the fireplace. Now there's an intimacy that you can create with the audience that people, wow, I really like this person. Who's good at it? Democrats are much better at it right now than Republicans in general. But one of the best is Donald Trump right now. He was one of the greatest trolls out there simply because, he knows how to use the medium. He's a media star. He came from a media background.
Yeah.
And I don't think any other Republican does it better than he does, but you are really on the level. I mean, I don't want, this is, you know, I've known you a very short period of time, but you're certainly on the level of an AOC, being able to talk to your audience and to bring them in. So I think that is truly one of your strengths. And I think when you're looking at how you're going to reach the numbers of people, like how many people, even if you knocked on over 1,000 doors, how many doors do you really think you might have knocked on?
Well, yeah, that's just it. You know, I mean, how many doors did I knock on personally?
Or your team, or whoever you had out
team,
there. Yeah,
a little upwards of like 10,000, just given the amount.
And how many people voted for you?
Just shy of 50,000.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you reach those other people? That's how you reach them. You reach them on.
It's digital.
It's digital. It's either your organic postings, other people reposting, or just that you were in other events that were posting as well. Like when you did the event with Tim Doherty up on the green, the jazz event, you know, Tim's out there posting, other people are posting. When you're at an event with Cheryl, they're posting. So you really got out there that way. And I think that's, and we're able to make that connect, that authentic and competence connection. That if any other candidate doesn't take into 26, they're losing. I really think that. I see that. Do you have any questions? Like any for me?
Do I have questions for you? Let me think. How long have you been doing this?
Oh God, never. I just started in January. I'm like this new guy who decided to just sit down and create content and write. No, I started out in 1984. The first person I worked for was Roger Stone, who is quite a national figure. I worked with him on a campaign in New Jersey against Bill Bradley. He ran for you. This woman I worked for out of Montclair, Mary Moshari, she was the mayor of Montclair. She ran against Bradley. I worked for her. I went immediately to work for the Kane campaign, and I headed up his Get Out the Vote effort, which was the first computerized Get Out the Vote in the country. Three people had to carry the computer into election night. So I did campaigns for solidly right up to presidential campaigns for about 10 years. And so I had a good background in it.
Yeah.
And I was always an armchair politician. I would sit there yelling at the TV, like, this is, you're not saying this the right way. You're not messaging this correctly.
Yeah.
And January, I think, just sitting back long enough, and I finally said, the beginning of January, I want to do this. Just like you kind of said, I want to jump in.
Yeah.
And there's no better way to do this. For anybody watching this, jump in and do what you want to do, because it is not only, I'm sure you will agree.
Yeah.
It's whatever you want to say, it is a trip. Has it been a year for you?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's an understatement. Yeah, it really has been. It's been wild. Well, earlier this year, I finished my doctoral degree. And as I was delivering my dissertation in my head, I was just like, well, this is it. I'm going to relax for the rest of the year and just kind of focus on my businesses that I've had for years. And, and then I literally stumbled right in. I shouldn't say stumbled. Like I got right into this. So this
was carved out. This was a niche that was absolutely carved out for you with your existing business. I just, again, we referenced it earlier, but the way that you were able to just, I'm posting you didn't set up even a different account for the campaign on TikTok.
No.
You used your own account.
I just used my own, yeah.
And you did your business, you did this, and it worked. It really meshed well together. I thought that was great.
I've already been posting about my businesses for years now.
Yeah.
So people are used to that.
Right.
And so now I'm just throwing politics in there, you know? So, and maybe it's a little unorthodox to be talking about 3 different things. I mean, well, really 4, because there's also like pictures of my dog in there, and there's, just like basic life stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about my 2 businesses and so
vacation. You threw vacation in there over the summer.
Yeah. I don't know. This is who I am. I'm not gonna alter that.
No. No.
I don't think, and I've thought about it. I was thinking, let me get a political account like everybody else does, but I'm like, this is just who I am.
No, and you already have an audience built up there. I mean, you have people that are already tuned into that.
And it just worked. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't just jump in January. I started my company in 5 years ago, and I will say, stumbled into artificial intelligence. And I was doing a language translation app that 5 years ago was very manual. It was very like, okay, you go to Rome, you click on my app and it will connect you with a local translator, a local source translator, and you'll be able to communicate, be a concierge type thing. I saw that going away very quickly with AI.
Oh, yeah.
So we had to jump into AI and we had to learn AI. And one day last year, I'm like, well, this would be really cool. During the presidential, I'm like, this would be really cool to apply to politics using the same technology that predictive technology that we were using in the language app and the ability to hunt down data and stuff. And that's how I got into it. So that's why I said, because it made me a lot smarter than I really am. So it's
That's
a lot
great.
of fun. So,
Yeah, that's really great.
Marisa, I have enjoyed having you here today.
Thanks for having
hope
me.
you've enjoyed the back and forth.
Yeah, this was great.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us today, and we will eventually have another episode. Thanks.